Hi everyone, this is Ed here from the Outer Dark and Esoteric Detective. I just have another video I'd like to share from our other channel, the Outer Dark. If you want to take a look at my channel, a link will be in the description. Here I have an interview with Dr. David Jacobs. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Hi, this is Ed and welcome to the Outer Dark. Call them demons, spirits, the Nephilim, interdimensional beings, or aliens. There is no doubt that throughout history, there's been some kind of force that has been interfering with human beings. So, stay tuned as the Outer Dark brings you 14 breadcrumbs with alien abduction researcher, Professor Dr. David Jacobs. Number 14. First, some context. Alien abductions are different than what you would think, since the number of people who report alien abductions have physical marks on their body. They are also at times missing from their environments. This is cross-referenced with the fact that they also see craft or UFOs in the sky at the time of their abductions, or at least in their history. They also, when they give testimony, in many cases need no aids such as hypnosis. The alien abduction phenomenon is also synonymous with the phenomenon of what is known as missing time. To explain that, it's best to describe an event from your past at which you have no recollection of. Have you ever been driving in a car and suddenly arrived hours too late to your destination? And when you arrived at your destination, you just had this weird feeling that something strange happened to you? Maybe there are marks on your body, or you have a memory of maybe a fire engine or seeing something strange on the road, which when you check back, simply wasn't there. Well, this could be considered as an event of missing time. These are all interesting things that equate to the actual alien abduction phenomenon itself, and in this area, there is no other expert than retired Professor Dr. David Jacobs, who's been researching this phenomenon and missing time for over 30 years. Dr. David Jacobs is a retired college university professor of American history from Temple University, noted on the world stage as an expert in this phenomenon. He is the author of many of the most well-received and researched and thought-provoking books on the phenomenon, including The Threat, and his new book, out right now, called Walking Among Us. Links to all of this will be placed in the comments section as well as the description in case you all want to check it out. Anyway, let's head into the questions themselves. Number 13. So, Professor, what evidence is there for the UFO phenomenon?
With UFOs, the evidence is, to say it's massive would be trivializing the evidence. It's every conceivable thing you could want in terms of evidence except having one. It's the priest, the minister, and the rabbi seeing a landed UFO, not knowing each person is there, and then finding out later on that they all saw the same. I mean, it is photographs of them. It's 8mm camera footage. It's 16mm camera footage. It's 32mm camera footage. It's videotape. It's now DVD stuff. It's on cameras all over the place. It's radar scopes. It's pilots seeing them. It's passengers on a plane seeing them flying by. I mean, the evidence for UFOs is unbelievably huge. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Number 12. What is the difference, Professor, between general UFO research and that of the alien abduction phenomenon?
By looking at the outside shells of objects, you can identify, yes, there's strange objects in the air, but you cannot identify intent. You don't know what their intentions are, and the only way you can get to the concept of intent is through the abduction phenomenon. There is no other way of doing it. What doing abduction research gives you, it gives you intent. It gives you their intentions, what they plan to do in the future. That is unknown for just straight UFO researchers. That's all. You know, they're still they deal with primarily the outside shells of objects.
In alien abduction research, what exactly do you look for?
What you have to look for with abduction accounts is similarity. If somebody says something that is what would be called an outlier, something that I have never heard before, and sometimes makes no sense to me whatsoever, I wait until other people say the same thing And then without knowing that there is this other testimony. The more of that, the better. And so everything that I put in my in the threat and in my latest book, Walking Among Us, everything that I put in there had been verified by other abductees, and I was careful, as you can see, to put in certain phrases that abductees used who were totally unaware that another abductee was using it. For example, one person says that she felt like she was being a traitor to the human race by doing what she was doing. And another person had said essentially the same thing. They had guilt. They were filled with guilt over what they were doing, and they sort of knew it at the time. Now, I had worked with these two people for a minimum amount of 10 years each. So that's what you have to do. You just cannot go with what a person says automatically and what they're saying you've never heard before, and it suddenly becomes evidence. It does not rise to the level of evidence that quickly. You have to wait for other people to say the same thing and to confirm what the first person said. More the better.
Number 10. You outline the fact that there is a hybrid breeding program. What was the origin of this discovery?
My colleague Bud Hopkins, who's one of the great pioneer researchers of the abduction phenomenon, had discovered the idea of hybrids. I remember he called me up in the mid-1980s, and I've mentioned this on other shows before, but it still looms large in my mind. And he said, David, he says, I got the most amazing abduction case that I ever got. I got the most amazing aspect of it. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. It's incredible. I said, my God, Bud, what is it? What was it? Now, I had not been doing abduction research at this time. I had not been doing hypnosis or anything like that. He says, well, they took her into another room after she got off a table, and they brought her into a room, and there was somebody holding a baby. I said, a baby? What do you mean, a baby? It's the first time the word baby had ever been used in connection with UFOs in any way, with abductions rather in any way. He said, yeah, a baby. And it was a weird looking baby, sort of an ugly baby, and they wanted her to hold the baby. They are logical and rational in every way. They have already stimulated lactation in the woman, whether she knows it or not. They're putting that baby to a breast, and the baby is going to be feeding in the breast, essentially. And we've had cases of this hundreds of times. That is not an exaggeration.
Number 9. You uncovered the same narrative within abduction research. What can you explain about what you found, and what does it mean?
In the threat, I talked about the fact that these beings we're talking about, and this is later on in the book and also in my research, this is years later, they're talking about that soon there was going to be a change made. Everybody was going to be happy when the change comes. When the change comes, everybody's going to know his place. I heard this from a number of abductees who did not know that other people were saying the same thing. So I asked him what the soon meant. What's the word soon meant? What do they mean by soon? Because soon is a non-word. It could mean 10 minutes from now or 10,000 years from now, for all we know. It's meaningless. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. In 2003, I began to hear that there was that hybrids were living here somewhere, that they were going out to different places with abductees, restaurants, chips and cars, that they were then moving into apartments. These are being helped by abductees who have to teach them how to be human. But once you live here, they realized, my guess is, that there are about 800 billion things that they don't know. So what I began to see with a number of abductees who I work with, one of whom I've worked with since 1987, if you can imagine that, who also began to tell me the same thing, who had never told me anything like that for years and years and years beforehand. Suddenly I realized this might indeed be the change.
Number 8. In the alien abduction phenomenon, you and your colleague, Bud Hopkins, conducted a Roper poll in order to find out how many abductees that there were within the American population. What did you find?
This was clipboard in hand, face to face. They don't do that anymore. It was 6,000 people. Well, 5,985 or whatever it was. It was close to 6,000 people. That is a huge amount of people. Huge. Our plus minus error rate was 1.4%. That is extremely low. The numbers were ridiculously high. 12%, 15%. So it was like craziness. So what we did is we got the numbers down to, they had to answer 10 questions, and of the 10 questions, we divided them into 5 higher indicator questions and 5 lower indicator questions. Although answering yes to any single question could mean that you were an abductee. But we divided them into 5, and then we decided that we would only accept those people who answered yes to 4 out of the 5 higher indicator questions. If you answered yes to all 5 of the lower indicator questions, you were dropped from the survey. We went with 2%, which we knew was low. But we were a little bit afraid of the questions that were asked. We were afraid of this, we were afraid of that. We had our good reasons. That made national news at 2%. 2% of 300 million in the United States alone, that's 6 million people by my calculations, I think. But 5% is probably closer to the truth. It may be a little bit over, but 5% is like 15 million Americans, and this is a global phenomenon. It's astounding how many people are abductees, let's just say in New Zealand, or let's just say in Australia, or let's just say in Pakistan. It doesn't matter, or Belarus. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they are. I worked with people personally from Pakistan and from the West African country of Mali, from Brazil, from France, England, obviously, and wherever. It just doesn't matter. It's downright frightening, to tell you the truth. It's downright frightening.
Number 7. Given the amount of abductees you found from your scientific poll, how large is this phenomenon?
The amount of energy placed into this phenomenon is just mind-boggling. They're serious about what they're doing. It's global, it's clandestine. They don't want us to know what they're doing. They're afraid of that. They don't want us to know. And it's intergenerational. Of course, that everything sort of melds together in a sense. And of course, they can control us neurologically, and we can't control them. So this adds up to a situation which is, well, to put it lightly and nicely, it's horrible. It's terrible. I don't see anything good about this at all.
Number 6. You note in your research that there is, of course, an alien breeding program, which is underway worldwide. So, what is the relationship between the alien hybrids and our larger society? What kinds of ramifications for humanity would this hold?
They have human characteristics. They have they're interested in things. They want to learn things. They want to live here, and they want to blend in and all that, and they don't want anybody to know who they are and all the rest of that. But as I pointed out in Walking Among Us, there's only one ever so slight, hardly noticeable difference. And that is, they can control us neurologically and we cannot control them. That is disastrous for humans. That makes us into a second-class person, a second-class animal, so to speak, and them into a first-class animal, so to speak. We are not just second-class citizens. We're second-class beings compared to them. You can't just dismiss it when lots of people began to tell you the same thing in the same way, who are unaware of other people's testimony.
Number 5. What exactly are the grey aliens, which are noted in a number of alien abductions?
All the gray aliens and the hybrids have been bred to do specific jobs. So when you see gray aliens, they have been bred. Their brains are suited to do their jobs only. That's what they do. They come down, they get people, they put them on tables, they squire them into rooms, they stare into their eyes from a distance of an inch. So what we're looking at here is a very, very advanced, I don't know if I can use the word civilization or not, but certainly an advanced group of beings who are here, who we cannot possibly be on the same level with, both technologically and neurologically. Technologically I can live with. Neurologically that's a bad one.
Number 4. A number of abductees have told you the same narrative involving a task that they have to do in the future. Can you elaborate on this?
Abductees tell me that in the future they know they're going to be doing something. They're going to have work to do. They've got a job to do later on when more and more of these hybrids come down, or hybrids come down to live here, and they've got a job. One of the most prevalent forms of, quote, jobs to do in the future is traffic control. These aliens will say, well, you will be standing on a corner. There'll be a large group of humans who are panicked, who are frightened, who will be running down the street. Your job is to tell them to just keep moving, everything is okay, just move in that direction, keep going in that direction. That will be your job. Person after person after person told me this, who did not know anybody else was saying this, to my utter amazement.
Number 3. What is the relationship between hybrids and alien abductees, tasked with roles in helping them?
It's complicated. In general, when people are helping out, I call them hybrids, are the ones who are actually here and living here. Human hybrids, so to speak, hybrids I call them, just to differentiate them from all the rest of the different types of hybrids that there are. So when they're talking with them, and I put some examples of this, like Betsy taking her hybrid to a supermarket and pushing a cart, and they walked in, and she said after they walked in, oh, we have to have a cart. We have to. So, and the carts were outside in a little area outside. So he started to go to the door, and there was a woman coming towards him with a cart, and he just immediately grabbed her cart. She was fine with it because he obviously said to her telepathically in some way, get another cart or whatever. It just occurred to her, however she put it. And so he just took this woman's cart. And Betsy had to say, no, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't just come up to somebody and take their cart. That's not nice. It's not right. In other words, there's a give and take there. She could chastise him for what he did. It does not matter what she says to him, because once he leaves, she will have forgotten everything that happened.
Number 2. Being a retired academic yourself, what is the interest within the wider scientific and academic community, at least today?
The scientific community has never come around to it. Right now, as we speak about this subject in 2017, the amount of interest in the scientific and academic communities for the UFO phenomenon, or about the UFO phenomenon, is lower than it has ever been in history, since the history of the phenomenon itself. There's less academics and less scientists are interested in it now than ever before. If the scientific community had said, yes, this is real, we're looking into it, we don't know what this is all about, but we'll keep working at it, everything would have changed. Everything would have changed.
Number 1. What is one thing that all alien abductees, or at least the vast majority, have in common? At least in regard to the actually alien abduction experience.
But when they're in a room and they're going to be taken from that room, they go right through the window or right through the wall or right through the ceiling. Every single time. Having said that, there's always exceptions. But I tend to speak in absolutes. However, it's close enough to every single time. It's 99% of the time, if not 99.9%.
I would like to thank Professor Dr. David Jacobs for being on the Outer Dark, and having read all of his books, I can't recommend them highly enough. If you're interested in the research or the phenomena, make sure you check them out. A link to all his books and his website will of course be in the comment section, as well as the description of this video. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. That would help me out a lot. And let me know, of course, what you think. And this is Ed from the Outer Dark, and I'll see you later.